everybody, I'm V Darling, and thank you so much for coming to our closing event for Desire Lines, the Hunter Fall 2022 BFA degree show. So actually I want to shout out all of the other artists here. Hannah, Westerman, whose sculptures are placed all around. Macy, this is her painting, and her paintings are also all around. And Eula, who's not here today, but those sculptures and the photo sculptures are hers. So give it up for them. Yeah, so we're gonna do some performances. I'm gonna read from my zine, which I'm still working on, Goddess 3. And then my lovely friend Aeliana, who is pictured in my installation, The Ethereum, is going to read from her novel, Parasite. And then we're gonna have an artist talk with the other artists, as well as Ophelia, who is in the Spring 23 cohort. So I feel like it's gonna be really entertaining for everybody, and we're recording it, so it will be available to watch again. So yeah, I guess we'll get right into it. So I'm going to just briefly explain the performance aspect of what I've been doing here throughout the show. As I was explaining to my aunt a little bit earlier, there was a time during lockdown when we were still on Zoom for class, and it was becoming really evident to me that particularly cis-het male professors and students were not taking me seriously, and I was just starting to feel really uncomfortable and unwelcome. I didn't think that I was going to quit per se, because I'm just the kind of person where I'm not going to let people force me to stop doing something that I'm claiming for myself. But it was causing a lot of insecurity within me. I was having to call my dad a lot because I was having emotional breakdowns, and I was talking to a friend who is a woman of color artist, Meetsko Brooks, and she has 2 master's degrees and an undergrad BFA, so I think that she has a pretty good idea of these things. And I was asking her what she thought it was, and at that time I was wearing long nails, I was wearing big hair, I was doing makeup, I had just gotten my tooth gems and all of these things, and she said that she felt that it was probably because I was so feminine. And having been victimized, criminally victimized actually, and sexually victimized for my femininity, I think subconsciously I just started really dimming my light and wearing a lot more muted colors, not doing fun things with my hair as much, not really doing as much makeup. And yeah, we came back into the studio, so I couldn't really wear nails, but I did notice that over the summer I would serve looks, and then when it would be the semester I would stop doing that. And so this performance has a lot to do with just social ideation. I decided that I was going to be this character of what I feel is divine femininity, and just present extremely feminine, and some might say very over the top, very girly, you know what I mean? Every time I came into the gallery. And I wanted to create in my Ethereum a space where femininity was welcome and safe, and where I could feel safe, because most of my life I have not felt safe in my body, and even every day there's some threat, and these are social ideations. So really this costume, because that's what it is about the performance of identity, and if I'm allowing others to decide who I am, where I get to go, how I get to live my life, or if I'm going to be self-possessed and decide this is who I am, this is how I present, and this is who I'm going to be. And I think that's one of the things that's most important that I'd like to impart upon people with the art that I create. And it's a lot of what Goddess 3 is about. So This is the performance. People have been like, well, when are you gonna perform? And I'm just like, I'm performing right now. I pitch my voice up, and even as myself, people haven't taken me seriously, particularly, as I said, cishet men. And I think that's to their own detriment, because in that way I can subvert their ideologies against them and, get what I want. So I'm gonna read some poems from Goddess 3, which was, I felt like, a transmutation of this sense of grief that I was experiencing. Also having, at this time last year, losing my aunt, who was like my biggest role model of like strong feminine power. So first poem I'm gonna read is Excuse Me. I whisper, excuse me, like a spell, to make my presence a mere specter, and erase my existence from your memory. Only an impression of my human necessity, to be and innate power of impact. Excuse me, unless with aggression, to part the Red Seas. Excuse me, a spell to disappear my memory. Okay, that is Excuse Me. I'm going to read Not a Wasp, but before I do that, this is printed improperly. Before I do that, I'm gonna read It's Racist. In pretty much every major city I've ever been to, it smelled like pee. Like in New York, it smells like pee. In London, it smells like pee. In LA, it smells like pee. I can't say for sure that it smells like pee in Miami or Atlanta or Paris because I don't remember, but I'm sure it does. Somewhere, I'm sure that it smells like pee. And that's just city life for you. If I, as a Black person, tell someone, usually another BIPOC individual, that I love London, chances are that they'll respond, it's racist. I'd like you to tell me one place in the world that I can go that isn't racist, that doesn't operate from an inherently anti-Black social structure. Just one, because even in my own Black African country, there's rampant anti-Blackness, anti-indigeneity, and colonial mentality. Or worse yet, I've heard it's racist, meaning that they've never even been to the apparently racist place. Don't get me wrong, it is racist, but so is everywhere else. There's nowhere that we can go that isn't touched by colonial ideation, not even our own imaginations. That is the point of globalized colonialism. That is the point of colonial indoctrination. However, that self-policing of myopic thinking, especially as it pertains to the limitations of the infinite pool of inspiration that is our imagination, doesn't want us to see that. It wants us to give ourselves so few options to choose from that we are easily predictable and therein controlled. It is 2022, and the globalized hegemony of colonialism reigns supreme, even as it is crushed to smithereens under the pulverizing weights of advancing consciousness. Yes, London is racist. Yes, Paris is racist. And so is New York, and LA, and Berlin, and Rio, and Beijing, and Monrovia, and. My best chance at not survival, but real and true fulfillment and joy is to choose what brand of racism is most tolerable as a price to pay for existence within this realm. It's racist. So I'm gonna read my last poem, which is gonna be Not a Wasp. I was gonna read a poem about heterosexual fashion boys, but I printed this wrong, so it's not in here. So we'll do Not a Wasp. The diva is not a wasp. She is the antithesis of the wasp. She is not puritanical. She is all-encompassing, textured, raw. She is not ascetic. She is abundant, lush, verdant. She is not the one. She is the many, the multiplicity, the multifaceted. She is not cold. She is overflowing. Passion, potential. She is not restrictive. She is boundless, bountiful, infinite. The diva is not a wasp. She is a bee, powerful, generative, imperative, and she is the honey, sweet, healing, eternal. The diva is not a wasp. She is a wild force to be reckoned with. Her curves, dips, and divots flow like the Ganges. She endures the test of time, resilient as the Appalachians. Thick and wet like an anaconda in the Amazon, she is powerful as she weaves the cosmic reverie, sometimes joining, sometimes watching. The diva weathers every storm because she is the storm as well as the land it touches upon. She is the body, rain-beaten and exhilarated, and she is the machete in the ground. I am the diva, and the diva is in me. I am the diva when I'm in my muchness. I am the diva when I'm in my languidity. I am the diva when I am luxuriating. I am the diva when I am iconoclastic. I am the diva even when I'm working. These tired old hands deserve a ring or 4 on each finger, and I am her especially when you call me gaudy. I am her especially when you call me gauche. Even when things go left, even when disaster strikes, even when the last tuppence hits the bottom of the pot, even when you've shorned my hair, even when you've stripped me naked, even when you've beaten me black and blue, even when you've raped and robbed me, even when you've scraped out the pearls from within my womb, even when you've poisoned me with plastic, even when you throw a burlap sack on the ground beside me, as if that were finery fit for a figure like me, even when you cackle and mock, knowing how full you are with jealousy, having seen that I still made it look good. Even when you shame me for ornamenting my blessed vessel, sweet sanctuary, delightful temple, because heathens like me don't deserve to taste the fruits of their labor, the inheritance of their savage lineage, the reality of Shambhala in the here and now, the present moment, the only moment, then I am especially her, because that's what is done in this structure. And why does the false matrix decay? What happens when a body lacks integrity? Sink into your bones, bad blood, sick marrow. Dis-ease runs deep. The rot set in. Worse than a cancer, but it's clear you know you're not coming back. The diva is everything, everywhere, all the time. She's the Empress of Heaven, the King of Pentacles, the Queen of Cups. The diva is no wasp. Thank you. This is Aeliana, Nicole. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name's Aeliana, and me and V have been friends for a long time, and very excited to be here and see you graduating and to see all your work. It's beautiful. Very proud of you and excited to see where you go next and to see how you move forward into the world now that you're done with college. I think that's very exciting, and you should be feeling very accomplished, and I'm excited to see how this all flourishes now that this is over for you. And I've been hiding out upstate. I've been in a very crazy lawsuit in the city for a while, so that's why V made this poster of me in here. I was a witness during Occupy Wall Street, and then I was ran over by the city, and I've been fighting with a lot of politicians, and it's been very crazy. So this poster has been very funny to me. The poster is of me, obviously with the nipple sliding out. I've done a lot of sex work in my life, and that's what the piece I'm going to read is from, which I felt was appropriate given the poster. Also, because this is like a graduation for you all, it made me think about when I was in college and just how different the world is now. I was in college when George Bush was the president. Being a sex worker in college at that time was a very different experience in the world than it is today. It was still considered like taboo. Now pretty much everyone does it, it seems like, which is great. But in that thinking about that has made me realize that there's like a big shift in queer culture that has happened from then to now, where I used to live in the Tenderloin in San Francisco, which if you're familiar with it is the word Tenderloin actually was coined by the police for areas high in vice because it would enable police officers to eat steak all the time because of the high crime rates. And now that queer culture has this whole idea about tenderness, I think about my neighbors in the Tenderloin, and I'm not gonna say it's wrong to focus on tenderness, but having grown up in the Tenderloin, I must say, like, no one ever used the word tender, like, ever, you know? If you like think about like the canon of like queer ideologies, it would be like fighting AIDS, being a salty bitch, you know, but like the idea of tenderness is like something that the people that raised me had like, they were not afforded. So I think it is beautiful that young people use that. But I must say the character in this book has like no concept of that. So just so I don't get canceled, I guess. This is all from before trigger warnings. And so this is a little excerpt about turning tricks in the Tenderloin, which I guess desire lines, you know, it's about desire. The Greek sculpture of the boar caught my eye one morning as I sat and looked through a book of ancient Greek art. The monstrous penis and casual swagger of the boar filled me with the animalistic sense of eroticism I had never before considered. I related to the demonology of the boar. To paraphrase what the book said, mothers and nannies used to warn children that if they misbehaved, the boar would attack them. The tactic of preventing evil with evil is exactly the tactic my parents had employed. I'd been looking through the book to escape feeling lonely and to get past their hold on my life and rebuild myself. However, it was impossible to fetishize the rehabilitation of myself in the same way that I could the boar, because the rehabilitation didn't project the same masculine ferocity the boar inherently possessed. If anything, rehabilitation would emasculate my desires and sense of self, whereas the boar sat proud and regal, hideously mired in his ugliness, akin to the fate of Dorian. I thought about changing my porn identity as I stared at the tusks and wafts of hair hanging off his backside, but decided against it. What if I alienated a budding fan base? That evening, my client, Mr. Oldcock, came over for his weekly session. As I looked for him, the boar imposed itself on his face, and throughout the evening, the sculpture came to life through his body. The resemblance conferred a new depth of ugliness upon him, made him more despicable. As I went down on him, I reproached myself for having misunderstood the value of a creature who would have appeared captivating to the great artist Pietro Tacca. He changed the base of the simple Greek statue by adding a pool surrounded by plants, snakes, frogs, and turtles, and I simultaneously felt happy that I could derive pleasure by being able to justify this man's presence using my own aesthetics. By conferring my taste in art onto Mr. Oldcock, I realized I hadn't been resigning myself to a lowly sense of self. I had satisfied my own refined artistic taste because, like many other artists, I saw that life is ugly, and to truly enjoy the ugliness of existence, one must learn to seek aesthetic beauty within beasts. The next day, I headed out to visit a new client. I walked through the city. I felt overwhelmed by my disgust for the world. It seemed everywhere people peered at the world as if it was something to marvel at. I wanted to move beyond this finite vision. I wanted to move into a new dimension of being, consciousness, to defy gravity. I wanted to soar over the concrete skyline. Hey, Marlene, echoed down Hyde Street as I waited at the corner of Bush. Baby, hey. The yelling man that chose to display his inner world to the public wore a pink shirt and white pants. His dreadlocks hung down near the curve of his ass. He stood slouched over, a cigarette dangled from his filthy fingertips. She stormed past me as angry as God, banishing Satan to hell. What a cunt, I thought. She looked up. I ain't ever gonna see you again. Baby, it's been 8 years. And it's gonna be 8 more years so you see me again. Fuck this shit, I need a drink. He yells for her. The red light shifted green. I descend upon the intersection, 1 foot in front of the other. The hay hung thick in the air. This is really good, I thought. I'm not alone. I glanced back and watched her enter the liquor store. I imagined her ordering a Colt 45, then she'd move down high toward Eddie. She'd get some good tweak and make her way to an alternate world where the hay didn't cling in the air. She'd go somewhere and get high and forget love. I wanted to be there, get so high, I'm the BART, the train, shaking, rattling, tumbling, screaming, blazing, Embarcadero to West Oakland. Nothing to slow me down. I'm below the Pacific Ocean and as dry as can be. I shoot out of the tunnel and burst into Oakland blue skies, speeding, forgetting all the jaunts I had gone down on and all the years I spent living the life I'd achieved. A homeless man cruises up the street. He screams out for change. I step up the curb, continue up high. The rest of the street is as quiet as an overcast suburban afternoon. I turn left onto Union. The sidewalk there crawls with yuppie moms pushing strollers and wanting lattes. I walk down to Laguna Street. I call the number, ask if he's ready, go in and bend over. The next morning I receive a voicemail from another man. Here's my number, call me, let's chat. Hey, hi, this is Dorian, you sent me your number, how are you feeling? I'm okay. You want to meet or what? Yeah, but I'm a furry, are you okay with that? A what? I'm a bunny rabbit, and I'm looking for a wonderful little buddy. Is this a joke? No. Are you into sucking cock? Do you like to get jacked off? Yeah, well me too, but I like to wear my bunny suit while I'm doing it. I'm a love bunny. Oh my god. So what do you say? Look man, you better not be fucking with me. Where are you located? Hesitation gripped me as I ventured out of my apartment, my mind full of images. Bunny rabbits with bullets drooped over their shoulders, Donnie Darko, Bugs Bunny feeding Elmer Fudd his dick, bunny rabbits eating children, rabbits with 10-foot boners and zillions of little baby bunnies bursting out of their ejaculations, the white rabbit leading Alice into Wonderland, Wonderland, the place I wished to be. I wanted to be traipsing through the 1970s porno musical remake. It is one of the great porno musicals. If you've never seen it, the Alice in Wonderland porn from the 70s, Macy. I'm the rock licking Alice's pussy. I'm the night singing, what's a nice girl like you doing on a night like me? I'm Humpty Dumpty getting blown, the Mad Hatter ejaculating, the Queen demanding head. I got on the bus. I've already been with the boar, I thought, as I moved toward the back and sat in the second to last row, trash scattered everywhere. I pulled out my collected poems of William Carlos Williams and began to read Arrival on the bus. And yet, one arrives somehow, finds himself loosening the hooks of her dress in a strange bedroom, feels the autumn dropping its silk and linen leaves about her ankles. The tawdry veined body emerges, twisted upon itself like a winter wind. Why would he liken a nude body to a winter wind, I wondered. Had he never been successfully laid before? Couldn't he close the window, started a fire? Who is she? Why don't both their tawdry veined bodies emerge? Was it the Baroness Elsa von Freytag-Lorgenhoven? Sometimes I felt like I was her. Was that why my English teacher kept suggesting I read Williams? I dropped the book on the seat and stared out the window. Elsa von, she used to live in the city and she would walk around topless like in the 20s. Was that why my English teacher kept suggesting I read Williams? I dropped the book on the seat and stared out the window. The stop came. I looked at myself in the rearview mirror of a parked car, my skin moist and blemish-free. I felt fabulous. I dabbed some tinted moisturizer beneath my eyes. One can never moisturize enough was my motto. I walked up to his door, nervously rang the doorbell. He opened it. A large white bunny face peered out from behind the door. Well, hello there, little buddy. How are you? I'm okay. Come in, come in. The living room was furnished with a couch, a table, and an entertainment center. Behind the couch was a bay window with curtains tied to the side, panels, the window seat, and the space between the window was filled with stuffed rabbits, approximately a 3-foot space full of furry friends, all shapes, all colors, multiple facial expressions. He sat on the couch and opened his flap, and his cock came out. A cock ring helped keep his penis erect. I couldn't believe such a large cock would want to hide in a rabbit costume. My amazement gave way to me on my knees, bobbing up and down. I gripped his furry body and bobbed faster and faster, the act as mundane as Los Angeles commuter traffic. His large soft paws rubbed the side of my face, moved down my back and the sides of my torso. I want to fuck you. Okay. Why don't you lie on your back? Fine. My feet rested on his furry shoulders as he moved into my body slowly. I felt every throb and morsel of his giant cock. His furry arms wrapped around my thighs. He picked up speed and hammered me for a good 10 minutes, pulled out, and came. As I waited for the bus, I was struck by the realization that that dude could have been any rich white guy in the whole world with a giant cut dick. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aeliana. And now, I guess we can go to the artist talk. So, Macy and Hannah, do you want to join us up here?
Yeah.
And Ophelia, you can come on up. Ophelia is going to be moderating the artist talk for us.
I'll sit on the floor. You take the chair.
No, I can stand.
Okay.
No.
I'll
Sorry.
give up the chair.
Okay.
Then it would be most like our year together. You sitting on the floor while the rest of us sit in chairs.
Hi guys, I'm Ophelia. I'll be moderating the artist talk.
Ophelia is an amazing, very talented artist in the BFA that I personally feel really honored to have shared space in class and in the studios with. So really honored to have you moderating this talk, Ophelia.
Thank you so much. Alright, well, you guys all put on such an amazing show, and the way it all converses with each other is so unique, yet really stands out in the way that it talks about different materiality and different themes. I'm gonna ask each one individually, what is a primary theme that you're trying to convey within your current body of work? I guess we could start down the line.
Yeah.
Macy?
So I think with this current body of work, well, I came into the BFA really speaking towards surrealism and speaking a lot towards like portraiture, and I think the more, and it was primarily speaking on dreams and nightmares, but with this current body of work, it actually goes a little bit more into memory and how memory changes over time and morphs over time, how memories are conveyed through tangible items like photographs and videos, but the way that you might interpret a certain memory can also be different than was shown through. It's one point of view, right? So I think that's primarily what I focused on with my paintings here, and I branched out more into not only my memories of other people, but really figuring out my relationships with others and how those memories have been shaped together.
Yeah, as someone who's seen your work progress throughout the years, even before you were in the BFA, I can definitely see how that comes through. And just even those brush strokes and how those evolve from being more, I guess, taking in the canvas and carving it out to working with the flow of the canvas, working with the flow of your memories. So thank you. Same question for you, Hannah.
So I think a lot of it is like, I don't know if this show is any different from like my larger practice, or I was thinking like specifically, I think a lot about my work is like a system and sort of like a visual language, and a lot of it is like I work from photographs of like materials that I find around the city. I feel like the urban landscape is very much part of my work, and like how kind of like objects are impacted by whether it's like touch, pressure, heat, degradation. Like And then kind of thinking about like materials in my own practice, the way that they impart on me and my body imparts on them. And yeah, so I think about a lot of my work is like, it's also a lot about like queer world building and like kind of reimagining new possibilities for like the objects we encounter in the world and like how they hold like our attention and our observations. So yeah.
Yeah, and you have a very unique eye on how you see these things that a lot of people would overlook, not even any way. It's, you know, not for any other reason other than the fact that we don't think to notice like the insole, like the insert for the shoe. Like I never thought of
What's
looking
not
at
here,
that.
but
yeah.
but I've scoured eBay for stuff like that.
Yeah, like stuff like that. It's very interesting. I don't know, transform that. And the same question for you: what is the primary theme that you're trying to convey in your current body of work?
I think safety and sanctuary. So I'm really into, well, it sounds like embarrassing, but I'm really into God. I'm really into spirituality. I'm really into the divine and the sacred. It is the thing that I feel has saved my life. And I do feel also like even without specifically outside of the structures of organized religion and really developing my own relationship with the higher power. And that is the thing that has made me feel safe, and that is the thing that has been like the driving force in my life to continue being. So yeah, I think that like what's most important to me in the Ethereum specifically, like I've always been into world building. I'm really into high fantasy. Like I am super into like the Tolkien Legendarium, like Lord of the Rings, all those things. Like that is my shit. So I'm really into inviting people into my universe as well to help people to understand like how I go through life, because I am neurodivergent. And also as a first generation American, like straddling constantly, and what I call a Gen Zillennial, stuck between Gen Z and Millennial, like always straddling the lines between two definite things and not ever really having a real foothold in either of them. And so just being able to figure out solid ground and stable ground within myself. And that's what the Ethereum has been to me, creating a sanctuary and something that is expressive of who I am as a person, as a creative. With, I guess it's like the idea of the Gestalt, like there are works that I consider whole and complete individual works all in there, but I think that when they're all together in that space, they all come together in a way that like really amplifies what they're doing. And I also think of that for like humanity. Like there's no me without any of you. Like there's no point to any of it, like without the rest of like existence. And so yeah, I would say those are the things that I'm mostly trying to explore and share with the world right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of comfort that comes from this role. It's a very sacred space to be in, which is difficult to do within the white walls, the gallery, you know. And I've seen that. I personally seen that space evolve so much. So it's very comforting in a way that it makes one feel at home. Okay. What is an aspect of your practice that you find important or special? Macy?
I think right off the bat, documentation is a really important part. I think coming to New York about 3 or so years ago, like that's like the first time that I went outside my comfort zone, like left my home, like childhood home that I've been in for all my life. And I think that separation, like into a completely new environment, like helped conjure up how important memories have been, but also about seeing how many people don't have certain, family memories or documentation of like their early life. And again, like this whole fear of forgetting certain things, forgetting your childhood, forgetting these moments. I mean, like, I don't even know what I had for breakfast this morning. Like, it's like things like that where, you know, it's, the memories don't have to necessarily be these like large monumental moments. They can simply be like, even like spending time with family, making a meal together, or certain cultural moments that I've found that are unique to me that might not be like normal for other people. So this can, again, looking at family home videos, and collecting and documenting like that aspect or those objects, but also creating or helping to document other memories today. So it's important for me to consistently take photos, consistently write, consistently like talk about my mundane day-to-day things and put it on paper and record them. And I think that just, it's important for me, and I think part of that also stems from the idea of certain communities of the African diaspora where, you know, for me at least, like my lines or my historical line, my ancestry ends like, you know, right after the slave trade. Like I don't have any of those memories, and like I don't know where a part of my ancestry is because that's forever lost. So I think part of that stems from this idea, or, you know, having immigrant great-grandparents where it's just like they couldn't carry a lot over to the States, like, and those memories are lost. At the moment, they're trying to survive. They're not gonna bring all of those things. They didn't like think about it. And so it's like kind of my job to, okay, like this is important to continue to record. Again, very mundane things, making lists, like making like just small everyday items and keeping those and collecting those.
I think like all of us are collectors
I was
in
about
different
to say,
ways.
yeah.
So that's like a good word to bring up. I think like walking is like the most important thing that's part of my practice, is like, I think being a city kid also is important, because I think it's just like being in New York, there's like a particular like visual language to my environment. But I feel like in the pandemic, honestly, like I like always take pictures of trash. Like I'll find like combs and like broken dustpans and like sinks and like stove parts that have been like sort of put out in the trash and have like lived a life and are forgotten, but to me like have so many like beautiful aspects to them, and I always take pictures of them. So that's like a big part, is to like, I have just like hundreds of pictures of like trash on my phone. But I feel like I also then, it became more intentional where I would sort of like, during the pandemic, like that was the way that I was outside and like became more intentional about that process. And then I'm slowly starting to bring in also like an interest in archives. Like I've gone to the New York Pictures collection, and I think a lot of it is like, what's coming up lately is like sort of like structures and the things that sort of hold us up that are like taken for granted. So I'm looking a lot at like interior diagrams of the body and like seeing connections in like the infrastructure of the city. So yeah, that's like something that's really important to, similarly, like, yeah, like documenting. And it's funny that you said like, you brought up forgetting in a different way, but I think also there's a way that along with collecting, I need a lot of time and I work really slowly, because so much of it is like all of these visuals and references start to like fold onto each other, and it's not like I'm like trying to directly like copy references so much, and instead those references are like transmuting.
Can you repeat the question?
Of course. Yeah. Sorry. What is an aspect of your practice that you find important or special?
Yeah. Well, I would say my meditation and journaling practice is incredibly important to me, just in my life, but also for creativity, I have been sober for like several years now, and super in my body. And as I said, like being someone who's neurodivergent, like a highly sensitive person, it can be very intense. I don't think that I would be able to make much sense of it if I weren't like meditating constantly and also journaling. I'm interested in a lot of things that are really big concepts. So when I talk about colonialism, I'm not just talking in this abstract sense. I'm talking about it in this systemic like structure that I've constructed, which goes from aspiritualism to cis heteropatriarchy to anti-blackness, white domination and racism, then to capitalism, then to industrialism. And these are things that like, so reading is really a big part of it, but my brain is burnt out after the past 4 years. So for me also a lot of YouTube, listening to lectures on YouTube, listening to books on YouTube, and doing like, I have a very meticulous practice of beading my flat back half pearls and rhinestones onto surfaces, and I'll listen and get into a meditative state as I like allow the words to like wash over me, and over time processing those things through my practice, and then journaling about it in order to get out what it is I'm trying to like express. And so there's the aspect of the spiritual, then there's the aspect of like the aesthetic and like being into fashion and the femininity and like the this and the that, and how does that all come together? Like how am I in a succinct way trying to express these things? And I guess that's the only way for me to be able to deal with them. So this past year, especially like working with Tom Weaver, who was the founder of the BFA program, he really had us doing a lot of like writing. He had us write, I think it was a 3-page artist statement, and that was like a really great exercise because it forced me to be face to face with like these non-verbalized, not super distinct thoughts and feelings and get much more clear on them. And so yeah, I guess I could say in a shorter manner is like cultivating clarity is really important part of my artistic practice, because I think otherwise it's just like it's hard for me to understand. It's going to be hard for other people to understand, I think.
And a question for all of you is, who are artists or people who currently inspire your practice? If any of you have any offhand.
I mean, talking with a couple people within the last day about a similar question. I think what took off some of my work this year was Jennifer Packer and looking at some of her work. And specifically within though, like the way that she handles paint on the canvas and the way that she also deals with memory, but also people, I don't know, it's more about the people also interacting with the environment and about feeling safe in those spaces. But I think the way that though she handles the canvas is finding this in between of unfinished and finished and not overworking anything. I'm someone who used to and still struggles with overworking my canvases and my paintings. But I think even there was a work in her show at the not the Walker, but the Whitney, and it was a still life of these flowers, and she created, it was almost like a small memorial for Sandra Bland, and that was just one of the more moving pieces that I've seen of hers. And I think it was also just showed how she coped with certain, you know, events that impacted her in such a way, but you know, that she wasn't directly a part of, like, right. Meaning like she was not there during that time, but then finding a way of like painting and coping with that, because like I think over but like making a huge deal out of like the image of someone. I think that like was also seen with like George Floyd and like always seeing his face everywhere. I tried to do that and it didn't. Like,
Right.
I'm like, this wasn't a coping technique. So to see something also like that, coping with certain events that have happened, it was permission that it, like everybody also copes in different ways and thinks of these certain memories in different ways. So that just gave me permission to like be on my own track and like again like thinking about certain life events and certain memories that have happened to me. There's not one way to display that. So I think again the way that she handles her people, the way that she handles the campus, and the objects that she uses really inspired me.
I think mine's got to be Eva Hesse, just like so consistently.
Yeah.
And I like saw her. She had a really like underrated room at the Guggenheim. Like it took a while for me to find it, and I don't like cry in reaction to art a lot, but I cried because I realized I'd seen her work so many times in photos and books, but I'd never seen it in person. And I think she was a person when I was like I have a background in psychology and like was thinking I would go and do art therapy, and then I took like one drawing class at Hunter, and I was like, never mind, I'm here now to be an artist. And I am like so shy and like so, I don't know, it was like, I remember I have this like giant book of hers where she like writes all these letters, and I just love, I feel like so many times people are like, I'm a star, I'm proud to, there's so much confidence, and she was just like so vulnerable and like talked a lot about like mental health struggles and like just like feeling just like struggling with your work in like a really like exposed way. And so like I feel like, and she just has such a like material sensitivity, so she's someone I go back to like all the time. And also I guess like a more modern artist would be Gordon Hall, who's like a dancer and like has a background in dance and is now an artist, so I think thinks about a lot like the body sort of like activating work in a really interesting way.
Yeah, for me, I would say like art historical world. I'm very much inspired by the Rococo. Very much inspired by like West Coast minimalism, but like overall I would say like pop icons, obviously Mariah Carey, obviously Mel B of the Spice Girls, Dolly Parton, Cher, like all of these larger than life women and femmes like Rihanna who give me, I feel, the permission to be the best version of myself. I remind myself constantly, like I have mantras that I remind myself of from celebrities that I just really resonate with. And so like one thing that I remind myself of is like, for instance, Kendrick Lamar came from one of the worst neighborhoods in the country, and now he's Kendrick Lamar. You know what I mean? Like he's a Pulitzer Prize winner. And if he can do that, so can I. And also for the fact that like these are people who encourage people in positive manners, because I think that there's a lot of imagery and just like subliminal messaging within American and Western media that really pushes upon us like devolution, like de-evolution. It really like encourages us to behave degeneratively. And so for people like, I don't know, I guess I would say like, as I was telling my aunt, like Dolly Parton, nobody believed in her, and now she's Dolly Parton, you know? And like, she also wore these like ostentatious like costumes because she knew like, you know, maybe people will like come for the spectacle and then they'll see like, I've got something to offer, you know? Cher said like, my mom said, you gotta marry a rich man, and I turned to her and I said, Mama, I am a rich man. And like things like this just reminds me like to forge my own path forward. And so these people are all like massive inspirations for me, but obviously also like they are pop stars. So there's lots of shiny things, which I love. Lots of just like flamboyancy, glitter, iridescence. Like, I love the spectacle, I love the show. You know, that's what you see in there. And yeah, they're all such larger than life people. So I would say those pop icons are the people who really inspire me the most, especially like aesthetically with this this project.
Thank you. And we're cutting close on time, but I just want to end the discussion with just a light question. What's something all of you are obsessed with right now? It could be art related, movie related, show related, even a food, like anything.
I'm obsessed with trashy TV shows.
Okay, yeah.
I binge watched Emily in Paris so goddamn fast. And I'm like, I don't know, there's something super comforting about like some of these like soapy, I don't know, it's like these soapy new like TV shows that are like super bright and colorful. And like they're so mind-numbing. But for some reason I also can't watch reality TV. Like that like drives me crazy. But somehow I can watch fictional, like just brightly colored voices, but like just But yeah, that's what that is right now.
I don't know if I feel like I've been trying to be obsessed with movie watching because I like am so bad at it. But Macy is like such a fan of movies, and we're studio mates in the program, and like it's just never been, I don't know. I can like watch hours of TV, but I watched I'm trying to watch like, I don't know, like really kind of like hard to watch slow movies. But
So
I
the
watch
opposite of me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think there's a like really interesting, like it's just I think I'm thinking a lot about like all the senses and like want to bring in sound, and I don't know, I'm maybe thinking about making videos and kind of in like, I watched Wings of Desire by Wim Wenders, I don't know how you pronounce his name, but it's like really just a weird kind of like poetic, disconnected movie, but I really liked it. I don't know, it's kind of a,
I'll have to check it out.
yeah, it's good.
Yeah, for me, well, comfort show, always my favorite show ever, American Dad. I know it's like totally unexpected, but it's my favorite show. But prior to that, I would say like I was super obsessed with Wednesday. And I think that's because like I am super into Tim Burton and very much on that Lydia Dietz wave of like, I myself am very strange and unusual. So if there was something very soothing and comforting and validating to my inner child, especially to see like she's so odd and like, but it works, and like she's very much living in that. And I think a lot of what I'm doing, like as far as the performance is concerned, is like speaking to the ideas of assimilation and you know, cutting off parts of ourselves in order to show up in a certain way. And she doesn't do that, for better or for worse, even if like, and then she ends up being right in the end, and everyone's like, you're wrong, and she's like, no, actually I'm right. I watched it 2.5 times. I'm gonna finish it, but yeah, so Wednesday, and
Okay.
American Dad.
Wait, sorry, I have one more. Those questions I'm always like, you're putting me on the spot. Now I've got it.
Sorry.
Pinterest is where I go for
Oh,
obsessions.
yes.
And I'm really obsessed right now. I don't even know why, but I keep having this memory of my grandma wearing dentures when I was a kid. And she would keep them on and she was like perfect, like so presentational. And then at the end of the night, there'd just be like her teeth in a cup in the bathroom. And I thought it was like, I was just like, what? You can take that out of your body? And like, so I've been looking at like, there's a connection weirdly between like a lot of the dentures, like Etruscan dentures were made of clay. And there's like these beautiful, like weird
Shapes, yeah.
So now my Pinterest is just like dental, like
I love that.
teeth diet. So like the other day I was like, teeth, like
I love teeth, so I get
I
that.
know, and I also was like Ophelia's ear, so
Ophelia's
okay,
ear.
that's my answer.
I also have another one. It's
You're
not
on
terrible.
fire.
I know it's crossword
months to come in.
puzzles.
Oh, yeah.
I've been oddly obsessed, and it's been my
That's not
new
from
morning.
Pinterest.
It's not Pinterest related, but it's been like a morning routine thing and a group activity because I love to do Scrabble personally, but nobody ever wants to play Scrabble with me.
No, me too.
So
yeah.
we'll end up doing Scrabble together
Okay,
at some
great.
point. But then, like, crossword puzzles have been of such a great idea to randomly rope in people, and then I'll just ask a random question, and I'm like, what's that one movie with Dwayne The Rock Johnson from? Never mind. They're like, wait, I think I can answer it. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, and then I just randomly just start roping in random folks, and then it becomes like a 3-hour event. So I don't know, crossword puzzles. It's a thing.
I think you can also say words with friends.
See, but here's the other thing. I need like physical, like I have like this crossword thing is like a physical bug, and I can't look.
The textility of it.
Like yes, that's what it is.
Also, you literally brought a bag that didn't fit the book, so you're just like.
Yep, I will carry it with me.
It's a nice thing to do on the train when you like don't want to inundate yourself with media.
Yeah.
What are you obsessed with, Ophelia?
Oh. Me? Currently, I don't know, I don't watch movies or TV because I just don't have the patience for it. I don't know why, but I'm currently obsessed with Julia Kristeva, who's this psychoanalysis writer, and I've been reading all of her stuff, which is probably like a weird obsession. That and Honey Bunches of Oats.
They're good. They're amazing.
I think it's so underrated. Everyone's like, oh, that's a healthy cereal. No.
They're actually not healthy.
Pretty good.
It's not that
First
healthy.
of all,
There's a lot
not
of
healthy at
sugar.
all. Not healthy at all. And also, pretty good. So yeah, those are my 2 obsessions. Thank you guys for answering all these questions. Thank you for round of applause to the artists.